Good morning. On behalf of Cooperation and Development Institute, thank you for joining us today in this event dedicated to youth and their active involvement in the development processes and respective agendas in our region. My name is Crisela Hachkai, Director of Cooperation and Development Institute, a think tank based in Tirana. And on behalf of my organization and of the Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform partners, I would like to thank all the distinguished guests for accepting our invitation and contributing to this event with their insights on these topics very dear to the youngsters. I also would like to thank all the participants that are following the event via Zoom or live in our Facebook page. The Western Balkan Youth Cooperation Platform was established in 2017 with the aim to connect and empower youth umbrella organizations in the region. Throughout the 5 years of operations, the platform has created the first bottom-up youth cooperation platform, provided a systematic fora of communication and coordination, and as well empowered Western Balkan 6 youth with the aim of reaching out and involving them in the regional policy-making processes. We are thankful to Hans Eidel Foundation for having believed in this endeavor and supported it for 5 years. Thank you, Klaus and Nertira, for your support. This year, the platform has entered its 5th year of operations, and supported by the best expertise from German Federal Youth Council, we are preparing our strategy for the period 2022-24. Together with an intensive capacity building program, prepared with distinguished experts from academia, business community, European Youth Forum, and Center for European Policy Studies in Brussels, the strategy preparation will allow partner organizations of the platform, which I will name all of them, the National Youth Congress of Albania, the National Youth Council of Serbia, National Youth Council of Macedonia, North Macedonia, Kosovar Youth Council of Federation of Bosnia and Herzegovina, and High School Students Union of Montenegro. All those partners will now undertake a big step by walking into those thematic areas covered by this economic and investment plan, which is in the title of our event today, which traditionally seem out of reach of youth because they are very specific, very thematic. Announced last year, this plan will support the Western Balkans 6 growth and reforms with an envelope of 9 billion euros of grants plus 20 billion euros of loans, and will support concretely 10 flagship initiatives. While a concrete flagship initiative specifically targets youth, and it's called Youth Guarantee, the Western Balkan 6 youth have a direct stake at the whole economic and investment plan. Balkan youth is a main beneficiary of this plan, and therefore, inclusiveness and transparency of planning and implementation of this plan are of crucial importance. The platform will start today the debate on what's in there for youth in this ambitious plan, and also will, in the coming days and weeks, prepare a position paper on how concretely these flagship initiatives will impact the youth, but also will tackle how youth can actively contribute to their implementation. Set in the framework of connectivity and regional cooperation, the 10 flagship initiatives provide ample space for actions that support youth development and connectivity. Green agenda, digital infrastructure, investing in human capital, or youth guarantee directly impact and involve youngsters and can be translated into concrete actions. But first and foremost, Balkans youth needs to understand what the flagship initiatives are, how they respond to their needs and development, and how they can contribute in their planning and implementation cycle by recommending improvements wherever necessary with regard to these flagships, but also to the plan in general. The Youth Guarantee, which is the flagship number 10, directly touches upon youth, and the process of flagship implementation mechanism described in the plan is a bit vague and not very comprehensive for youth. So there is a big space for youth organizations to take active steps and concrete actions to be involved since the very beginning with each of the phases that will follow the implementation of this flagship initiative. Not just to mention that there is a challenge when it comes to also awareness in the region in terms of informing the youngsters that they can benefit concretely from not only specifically the Youth Guarantee, but also from the other flagship projects. So I think there is a huge work that can be done jointly with youth organizations in our region in order to reach those youngsters that maybe are not very much connected to what is happening in the public policies. To conclude, a strategic mindset that complements the governmental top-down approach with a grassroots bottom-up and hands-on input and experience increases the implementation results and ensures two very important ingredients for every policy to have impact: inclusiveness and transparency. I would now like to pass the floor to Klaus Fichtner, Director of Hans Seidel Foundation for Southeast Europe. Klaus.
Dear participants, dear friends, Krishela, it is really a pleasure for me to be here for the first time after a certain long period, not via online as I did it the last year or the last half year at least, but now in persona in Tirana. And I think this is for me also some optimistic sign that the very difficult period of pandemia is hopefully now nearly over, and that we can look in a good future, not only to be connected via online, but also in personal by face to face. Why we are today here to this conference, Krishela already mentioned it. Additionally, or should I better say, in concrete transposition of RICO approach and intentions, we, together with CDI, 4 years ago, established this Western Balkan Youth Cooperation Platform. And I think it is a well-accepted common platform of youth organizations of the Western Balkan countries. It was from the very beginning some bottom-up approach of networking of youth organizations, building up concrete specified targets, but also coming to concrete results to specified lessons learned. And in this year, as I just mentioned, we are preparing some new strategy plan for the forthcoming period to identify new key areas where youth can be involved and there is possible some intervention. And one of these key areas could be this economic investment plan, a huge project of infrastructure. And of course, it is not directly related to the youth sector, but as Krishela already mentioned, it may be there are some corners, some topics where the youth can be actively involved, and active involvement, of course, means also to get certain project funds. So this is the topic of today. And so I wish that we come to good conclusions. Thank you very much.
Thank you to Gisela and Mr. Kiesinger for these opening remarks and for highlighting again the aim of the event today. Dear guests and distinguished panelists and colleagues from the 6 partner organizations and also participants that are following us online, thank you for joining in our event. As mentioned, throughout the years, the Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform has made it to have an impact on over more than 500 grassroots organizations in the Western Balkans, and also have an impact in more than 400 high schools in the region, thus increasing its youth connectivity and having a impact over what is happening with youth challenges and also addressing youth policies. In today's event, it is my pleasure to have such a diverse panel discussion through who will bring different angles and perspectives when it comes to addressing youth challenges and needs, and also in line with the topic that we will discuss today, which is economic and investment youth, and to explore what is in for youth in such investments. I am pleased to have here with us Mr. Albert Hani, Secretary General at the Regional Youth Cooperation Office, RICO. Thank you for joining, Mr. Hani. Ms. Bora Muzraci, Deputy Minister of Education, Youth and Sport in Albania. Thank you for joining. Mr. Kamil Balica, Team Leader for EU Enlargement from the EU Commission Directorate for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion, who is joining with us online today. Hi, Kamil, and thank you for joining. We also have Ms. Miljana Pej, Secretary General at the National Youth Council of Serbia, and Mr. Tobias Koek, President at the German Federal Youth Council, DBJR. Thank you for finding the time to join with us online. Hopefully, we'll have a chance to meet physically very soon. Hereby, I would also like to thank the EU delegation in Tirana for providing us the space to organize this hybrid event at the Europe House Tirana. Your continued support is truly valued and appreciated. Before continuing, I would just like to give some technical aspects, and I would invite all participants to have active engagement in this discussion and pose their questions or comments at the Q&A section. Our team will ensure that each question is answered. I believe that now we can begin with our discussion. I am pleased to open the floor with Ms. Miljana Pej, the Secretary General of COMS. In fact, COMS has been among the first main actors that has witnessed the establishment and development of the Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform. Throughout the years, COMS has grown into and having an association of more than 109 grassroots and for youth organizations in Serbia, thus being a very important link between youth organizations and youth policies and also the institutions that are relevant for youth. As we are talking today about such specific and not so mainstream policies, maybe we can begin by you and telling us more what are the main challenges that national youth councils have in accomplishing the role that they have in informing grassroots and also youth, and how such initiatives as Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform are contributing in the process of translating regional initiatives into national policies. Thank you, and the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for the invitation and the opportunity to address these important issues right now with you. I am joining online, unfortunately, but hopefully...
Just a second, because we're having a small technical issue with audio. I will confirm you once we can hear you. Can you please unmute yourself and try again?
Hopefully you can hear me now.
Now it's great.
Okay. Perfect. Yes, I was just saying that I'm very grateful to be here now. I would prefer to be there offline with you, but unfortunately that could not happen today, but soon I assume that we will manage to meet again after this tough year that we had in the previous period. Yes, COMS was from the very beginning part of the platform, and we really collaborated on various things, and we managed to somehow find the most common ground in order to work together in advocacy initiative, but also to always keep in mind to be aware actually of the network potential that we are now having, and to include member organizations, but also other important stakeholders stakeholders that are often excluded from some of the activities or from some of the programs, such as some informal groups, even individuals. And that was the greatest benefit of the platform, because it provided a space where all relevant organizations, informal groups and individuals could see what are the common interests that they were having. And we basically managed to, in a very short amount of time, to see what are the topics that the region has in common. So what are the challenges and which topics should we focus more in our collaboration and in our cooperation. And political participation, activism, employment, education were recognized immediately as the topics that should be tackled by all relevant regional stakeholders. In that regard, we, as National Youth Council of Serbia, focused more on participation, which is our core mandate, I would say, and the core mandate of every single National Youth Council here in the region, but also in Europe. And we managed to increase and to develop some parts of the program that we found that we found the need for. We managed to even engage some politicians, which is also one part of the activism and participation mechanisms that we found important. So we managed to, because we had elections and some of the activities were also related to the election process that we had last year, we also implement some of the activities that actually promoted participation in every single way, but also that mainstreamed the youth issues within the political party. So we wanted to somehow target also political parties and especially youth wings of political parties in order to motivate them to have youth perspective within the program and within their platforms that they were offering to voters. The position of COMS now is that since we are the only legally recognized National Youth Council of, in the region, we really wanted to use this opportunity and this situation to even further develop some of the key advocacy initiatives, and to be a good example to other youth councils that are now in different organizational development step. But also we wanted to regain our legitimacy. I mean, not to regain, but also to be aware that our legitimacy as National Youth Council is not only recognized from the state, but it should be recognized from the youth. So we that is also one part that always a youth umbrella organization needs to always bear in mind, to have constant communication within the network, and to develop activities or programs that are also somehow involving other activists, so that we are creating other activists in the future period. And the platform really helped us to go outside of this member organization network, and to include more young people that were not part of the network or our member organization.
Thank you, Miljana, for sharing these thoughts with us. Indeed, the work and the activism of National Youth Council is very truly inspiring and essential in ensuring there is youth participation and youth mobilization. When it comes to youth involvement and participation, as mentioned by you as well, I would also now like to turn the attention to Ms. Muzaci, the Deputy Minister for Education, Youth and Sport, Albania. And let's say more specifically, the institution that you represent is now preparing to draft the national strategy for youth 2022-2029. Based on the Youth Action Plan 2015-2020, there were many lessons learned, I would say, especially when it comes to further strengthening the cooperation between civil society organizations, more specifically youth organizations, and also relevant institutions. Since you're at this step, could you please unfold with us more insights with regards to the preparation of the new strategy, and what steps are you taking to ensure youth representation in sectoral policies and to inform them to be part of such processes?
Thank you. That's actually a very good question, because I think when you start a new strategy, and it's important to mention that we're at a pivotal moment when it comes to Ministry of Youth, because it's the first time that we're actually having a strategy for youth. Because in the past, we always had an action plan. We had some sort of little policies here and there, but there never was a strategy that unified all the ministries, all the institutions that deal with youth in one single document, in one single working document. So this is very important. And our starting point was actually the action plan. We had an action plan for 2015 and 2020, and we learned very many important lessons from this plan. The first lesson that was learned was actually the fact that the monitoring was not performed on periodical basis. And this meant that even though we have to look at the results now, and we're seeing what actually happened with the action plan, we're noticing that there wasn't an accurate enough follow-up to all the measures that were included in the action plan. So this is something that we definitely have to learn when it comes to the new strategy. We have to implement proper measures when it comes to monitoring, and these measures need to be implemented on a very timely period. So it has to be within 6 months, which is what we intend to do with the new strategy. This was the first thing that we learned. Another aspect that we learned also from the structural point of view is that what has happened with institutions in Albania, they have changed their priorities and their structures very often. So this impacted youth very radically, because we had 3 institutions that handled youth in the past. And these 3 institutions now are actually merged again into one, and then further it's split into 3 different institutions. So what's important with the new strategy is to have the competences and the actual outputs and results linked specifically to different departments within these institutions, to ensure that even if we might have a switch of competences or a switch of the priorities, then it's important that all our strategies and all our objectives are actually linked to a specific department within the administration that will carry through the work and carry through the process from the beginning to the end. And this will need to be, of course, monitored within timely deadlines. These were the most important things that we noticed from an administrative point of view. However, this does not include the aspect of involvement from the youth. With our first plan, there was done a very good job in involving the youth in the consultation of the plan. And what we intend to do actually is to repeat the same process, to ensure that we do not have consulting as it's done usually in Albania once the strategy is finalized, once we have a first draft. So this year we've decided to do it differently. So our strategy will actually have consultation meetings first. Before we start the strategy, we will go to different regions in Albania. We've actually planned 7 different regions in Albania, which we'll do actually through the help of the RCC and a specific project from them that we're targeting specifically with the strategy, as well as with a school to job transition. So they're both interlinked, but we will use these focus sessions and information sessions to ask the youth from different areas of Albania of what are their priorities. Because it's important to ask them before we actually sit down and draft a strategy that is intended to improve the standard of living and the opportunities that the youth have in Albania. And here I would like to stop perhaps a little bit to mention what our previous plan included. And our previous plan had actually 6 objectives, which were very important. If I were to read them, the first one was the engagement of youth involvement in democratic processes. The second one was encouragement of youth employment, sports, health and environment, youth education, social protection, culture, and volunteering. So you will notice that this is everything. So our objectives actually focus on everything that can impact the youth. And although this is a very good strategy because it covers every single aspect of their life, it is a very difficult strategy to implement. So what we're thinking with this new strategy for 2022 and 2029 is to target more specifically the key issues that actually impact the youth. So have a priority ranking of our objectives to ensure that if we do decide on two main objectives that are important to the youth, we carry through those two main objectives. And the rest of the objectives will have a perhaps a slighter weight in the whole process of the strategy. Because when you target 6 different things as important as the ones that I read you, as we did in the previous plan, although from a theoretical point of view, it's ideal, because what we're saying is that we will target every single aspect of their lives. However, from a practical point of view, from a budgetary point of view, it's very difficult to carry through everything at the same time. So this is perhaps the reason why our new strategy will be focused on the youth. We will discuss it with them first. We will involve every single possible organization that is actually active in Albania and ask their opinion. What is important to the youth in all areas of Albania, not just in Tirana, because this is what generally happens, is we tend to focus on Tirana, and of course it makes sense because it's half of our population. However, this does not fully grasp the issues that the youth have in different areas of Albania. So this is why we want to start it by having 7 meetings in 7 different regions of Albania, where we will ensure that we don't have only the youth that lives in that region, but also perhaps some representation from the areas nearby, so that we can have a better diverse opinion when we actually start our strategy. And just to give you the final line, we're only now starting to draft the strategy. So this is the beginning of the process. So this is the moment where the youth should be involved. And I say this once again for everybody that's listening to us and for everybody that is participating, that we want to hear your voice, because I think that should be the starting point of every strategy for youth. It's very difficult to understand what their issues are unless we ask them and unless we sit down and discuss with them from a face-to-face point of view and see what's important to them, because that's exactly what should be important to us in our youth strategy as well. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bora. Actually, when you start thinking about youth policies and youth involvement, you see how complex all the issue is and how you find youth involved in so many policies that maybe usually you don't think that youth have a say in it and youth should have a say in it. I really like that you mentioned on creating an intersectoral document that includes many agencies, many institutions, and also the fact of reaching out to youth, and not only in the areas where opportunities are provided for them and are very more easily accessible for us. Indeed, the youth today are facing this lack of access when it comes to opportunities, to involvement and participation, which in fact makes me turn the attention when we're talking about opportunities, participation and strategy to Raiko. I would like now more to hear about youth regional perspectives when we're talking about all these issues. In fact, Raiko's impact in these 5 years of establishment has been felt everywhere among youth in the region through your grant schemes, the youth exchange programs, your programs for schools in peace building and reconciliation, and many more others, all in the name of promoting good cooperation and dialogue in the region. Mr. Hani, as Raiko is now working on the new strategy to 2022-2024, behind the immense work and all the engagement and synergies with regional organization, could you please tell us more concretely whether the new strategy foresees new opportunities for youth and also foresees the participation or involvement of youth in such policies as we were mentioning earlier?
Thank you for the kind words, as well as for the hopes and expectations that you raised also towards Raiko. It is important for us to have the loop all the time by youth and youth organizations, as well as main stakeholders that we cooperate with. Therefore, we tend to be more accountable and transparent to all these stakeholders. Yes, indeed, we are working on strategy. It's also our time to work on our new strategy 22-2024, as the old one is just about to finish. And this year or this month, we are going to be completely focused on the new strategy of Raiko that will concretely or more precisely aim to reflect the needs, the wishes, the desires, but also the concerns of youth in the region of Western Balkans. We are aware that we are facing in general with the same issues and problems in the region, but what we are looking is a uniqueness. We are looking for unique solutions that will have to come from youth. This is why we will give a lot of attention to our strategy paper. As it was in the previous one, we have created a methodology which is similar to what Bora was mentioning, with consultancy meetings for consultancy meetings with youth organizations, with focus groups, with desk researches, as well as with different types of ways of gathering inputs, even from such conferences as this one, which for us it is very important, because we try to really this time gather information that are relevant and that could bring us to some new stream or new direction of implementing youth projects. We want to be even more successful than you mentioned. That's why we are looking for the unique approach. We are looking for the unique way of contributing or supporting the dream of youth in the region. And I must say it's not easy, because we are also, as you know, intergovernmental organization. We have to care also about different even political and social aspects in the region. However, as I said, we are becoming, with this process of strategy paper, we are becoming more concrete, I would say. We just started with the youth forum today. I'm coming at this conference from the youth forum, and by the way, I'm inviting all of you to join us there. It is the first opening day, but it will continue on the 4th and 5th. And we are waiting from youth to come up with inputs that will lead us to new priorities. We did, in line of strategy paper, we did connect this forum with the key initiatives or activities that are undergoing in the region. We really try to reflect the concerns of youth, especially reflect the data that we came across in our studies that show, for example, that only 19% of youth are actually willing to are actively contributing in taking active participation in decision making. That's why we are praising, and we really like to always promote this co-management system, especially in our governing board, in which also Bora is present. We praise the element of equality of the voice of youth together with the government representatives. And these are just some of the elements that we are promoting, and we are looking forward. But for more, we are looking forward on concrete results that are connected to let's say volunteering or to more exchanges, because RICO has already connected over 10,000 students across the region, with supporting 110 projects in the region. We are intending now to create even or double the number with a project that we are starting just right now. It's called School to School, with the German and the government, as well as the European Union, in partnership with the German GIZ. So we are going to support all these initiatives in the future in the region, but that's not even enough. We don't want to see youth just as a cross-cutting topic in all these fields that you are mentioning. We want to see youth as a meaningful mechanism that makes sense, and not just makes sense, but it makes a difference in our life. If RICO is just one mechanism, maybe there is another one that you are going to be identifying. We have already discussed about some ideas that with CDI even, that for now look even sound utopical, but it could be a potential for the future, for example, to condition, even when we talk about economic investment plans, to condition even those plans, investment plans, with inclusion of youth from the scratch, from literally beginning of the idea. We need youth to be active in these processes and not just be observers and see when the roads are built. We need to include youth before the roads are built. Maybe they want also something additional into it. We want them to be, as I said, not just a cross-cutting topic, but a meaningful mechanism that will make sense and that will make change in the future. That's why we are here as RICO. We are concerned about these processes. We want to push forward in all different topics, be it transport, energy, environment, green agenda, or whatsoever. And by that, produce even more results that we are all going to be proud tomorrow. It's not easy, I assure you for that, but with your help, we are going to achieve everything. And yes, the better region, as our motto says, starts with you. So be in it, give your contributions and inputs in all types of conferences that you are going to follow at this stage. By the way, we are also celebrating the 5th year of our existence. So although we don't have enough time because of these all conferences and the processes that are around the summit, but we will do our best to symbolically actually celebrate the successes that we created all together.
Thank you very much, Mr. Hani, for sharing all these insights on the immense work that you are doing. And yeah, of course, we are more than happy to support and to work together on all the efforts that RICO is doing to make the better region. From what you were saying, actually, the Western Balkans Youth Platform is also celebrating its 5th year of existence. And for us as well, it's a strategic year, let's say. It's the moment, we see it as a momentum where we really need to think what are the youth challenges and how we can do precisely what you were saying. Not to have the youth just as a cross-cutting issue or as the end result of something, but to make youth an actor of change, an actor that has a say when it comes to policies, when it comes to engagement, when it comes to participation, and also in addressing the challenges that they have and for their voice to be heard. So far, we were able to hear national and regional perspectives, and I think that we've all found some common concerns that we feel when we think about our region. I would like to give the floor now to our panelists from outside, let's say, or to Mr. Kamil Balica, the team leader from DG Employment. I mentioned in my introduction, and it is also the theme of this event, to talk about the economic and investment plan, and also the youth guarantee as one of the flagships that directly involves youth. The implementation of this flagship, just as the whole economic and investment plan, requires good preparation and certain resources by each applying countries. There were some cases, just for example, through our partners in North Macedonia, where the youth guarantee was previously implemented. And I believe that there were a lot of lessons learned that should now be embedded into this economic and investment plan flagship that will be implemented for the upcoming period. I would like to hear more from you. What were these lessons learned and how prepared our countries in our region to apply or to implement the youth guarantee? As we are mentioning here, youth involvement is one of the key aspects that we want to achieve as an end result of our contribution, but also as our cooperation between all these stakeholders that we are here today, and even more. What would be the contribution that youth organizations can give, and what can you say to us in the preparations of implementing the youth guarantee flagship?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, or good noon already. Thank you very much for giving me the floor and the opportunity to speak at this event. You are asking me a very important question about the youth guarantee. The youth guarantee is an ambitious scheme. It has been implemented since 2013-14 in the European Union member states. And as you rightly said, from the region, North Macedonia has implemented the scheme since 2018. And indeed, there are some lessons that have been learned. So let me first maybe develop on these lessons. First lesson is that it can be done. Second lesson is that we need really political prioritization to implement youth guarantee. It means that it needs to be endorsed at the highest level by the government, if possible, to make a part of the government program. I know that, for example, in Albania, there have been now elections. This is a very good moment when the government program is being discussed to put this initiative on the agenda. I know that in other countries and in North Macedonia, this was the case. Now, third lesson. Of course, the EU funding through the Economic and Investment Plan, and more specifically through the Instrument for Pre-Accession Assistance, is important. It is an important catalyst. At the same time, domestic resources are necessary and need to be channeled to this priority. So EU funding is complementary to this and helps actually deploy the scheme. And it is important also to consult other international donors so that the action of the donor community is coordinated. Now, when it comes to the deployment of Youth Guarantee, it needs to be progressive, of course. Capacities need to be built, they need to be established, increased. For example, public employment services needs to be reinforced. We need to make sure, when we want to implement Youth Guarantee, that the employment offices have enough personnel to be able to actually attend to the young people. Because public employment service is actually the agency of the government that is in the front line. It is there where young people register, and it is there where they will expect actually that the Youth Guarantee support is materialized. Now, when we implement Youth Guarantee, it needs to be progressive. The first step is, of course, as I said, this political agreement, this political backing. And then the next steps are shortly explained in the Economic and Investment Plan. There are 4 stages. The first stage is actually the development of the Youth Guarantee Implementation Plan. Because of course, if we want to implement something, we first need to have a plan. And this is the role of the public authorities, but not only of the public authorities. It is the role of the relevant, let's say, ministries and the agencies to be involved. And stakeholders need to be consulted on this, especially social partners and youth organizations and other non-governmental organizations. They need to be part of the development of this Youth Guarantee implementation plan. Now, when this Youth Guarantee implementation plan is developed, of course, we come to a stage, let's say the second stage, which is the preparatory stage. The Youth Guarantee implementation plan will identify needs for reforms, for establishment of some structures, development of some systems. And these will need to be developed before we can deploy the Youth Guarantee. What I'm talking about? I'm talking about, for example, about making sure that we have the necessary laws to be able to implement Youth Guarantee. A question, for example, do we have in the national system a possibility for second chance education to young people who left education early, the so-called early school leavers, and maybe would like to join high school, but they are already 21 or 22 years old. Do they have a chance to gain additionally a qualification? If not, if it's not possible, then the law probably needs to be adapted. Another thing, do we have systems that monitor the skills needs that the skills the employers are actually looking for? Do we have such a system? Do we consult employers on what are their prospective needs in the coming year or so? And do we have some macroeconomic projections for the next 5-10 years? If not, there needs to be work on developing such systems so that we are able to actually support young people with relevant requalification, with relevant upskilling and reskilling. So these were maybe I add one more example that concerns the education sector is, do we have early warning systems in schools that would help to identify young people that are at a danger of leaving school early? Yes. And do we have some tracking of young people when they leave education about whether they found a job or what is happening with them? These are also important mechanisms that help in the youth guarantee. Now, when we have done the preparatory work, which is the stage number 2, there is stage number 3 of the youth guarantee. It means piloting youth guarantee in selected regions. Yes, we cannot deploy youth guarantee in the whole country at the same time. That is difficult and it needs to be tested. And of course, after this has been tested, youth guarantee can be deployed countrywide. Now, you have asked me also about the participation of youth organizations in the youth guarantee. I have already explained that in the process of developing the youth guarantee implementation plan, their role is clear. They need to be consulted because they understand the problems of the young people. And then their role is also important in the implementation. Youth guarantee, let's say, is implemented in 4 phases. Yeah, we call them very shortly: mapping, outreach, preparation, and offer. For the mapping part, it is important to understand the population of young people that are not in employment, education, or training. The issues that they face, obstacles, and where they are, this needs to be mapped. This is why we call this mapping. Yeah? We need to understand what barriers they face. Where are these young people located? And we should not forget vulnerable young people, including young people from minorities or young people with disabilities. And then there is the stage of outreach. It means informing young people about the fact that youth guarantee is there, using appropriate channels for communication with young people, using also informal networks. This is not necessarily easy for public authorities, and they need help of youth organizations and of NGOs to reach out with appropriate way of communication. So let's say this is in a nutshell what I would reply to you. And if you have more questions, please don't hesitate.
Thank you, Kamil, for all this information. Clearly, a lot needs to be done from all partners, from all parties, not only institutions or countries in the region, but also relevant stakeholders that can help in this process, which is another example of how much youth involvement is needed throughout these processes. I would like now to hear more from Tobias from DBJR. Throughout the years, DBJR has been a close friend as we work together on new dialogue, and not to mention the past weeks where DBJR was the main facilitator in kicking off the new strategy of our platform. Throughout these past weeks, they have had the chance to interact with our partners in the region through engaging workshops, which aim to make us reflect and channel our work and contributions as we move along forward. Tobias, you have cooperated with our region before, and I'm pretty sure there are a lot of familiar faces here for you. In your perspectives, what are the main challenges that youth cooperation is facing in the Balkans? I mean, you heard the perspectives, or from everything that you heard so far, and from what you saw during the workshops and what we've discussed together as well. As an outside observer, let's say, what are the main gaps and what is further left for us to contribute?
So thank you first for the invitation. I really would like to be in person in Tirana, but this time it was not possible, but I will be there maybe in autumn, so we see each other in a closer distance. And thank you to Grisella and Gresa from CDI and all the staff and the members of the Western Balkan Youth Cooperation for the last weeks. I think it was an intense weeks with workshops and good cooperation during these days, and I think also the results are proper results where you can see, or which were in the development of the strategy, and where you can see that also the challenges, but the needs youngsters and youth organizations, and also for the platform. So I will go on this in detail now, but also I want to thank the donors like Hans Seidel Stiftung, but also the other political foundations in Germany. They do a good job in supporting youngsters in Western Balkans, like Friedrich Stiftung and the Konrad Adenauer Stiftung. So this is needed as well in putting up strategies and proper instruments to go on with youth participation, but also in the political field of developing strategies and things like that. And I think the main challenges, you named it before as well, are reaching out, or is to reach out to all youngsters in the region, not only the well-educated and developed youngsters, but all. I think this is needed because you need them for a stable region. They are needed for the work measurements, and I think they need also perspectives. And here the importance of the youth councils on all levels, not only on the national level, but also on the regional, on the local level, and of course on the European level is needed as well. CDI, for example, can help there and use this good network to help and to foster the contacts and the friendships during youngsters, and also this Europe-wide approach with instruments like the youth strategy, the youth guarantee, and the youth dialogue is very important. I think we have good cooperations to all the youth councils in the region, but also in the European Youth Forum. I think Mr. Walica knows there is a good cooperation and there's a political approach Europe-wide, and there is also support needed from the European Commission, and to foster this participation moment in the political process, addressing governments and like the deputy minister said, not only hearing the voice but also taking this dialogue moment serious and react on the demands is needed to be for the politics to be trusted by youngsters. And I think also this cross-sectoral approach which you mentioned is a very good approach, not only to work on specific youth issues, but on all issues which are important for society, and then hear the youngsters what they think to specific topics like building streets or especially in their region, it's always needed. And I think one challenge is also the financial support. I mentioned the donors from the German side, but I think there is like Raiko, also welcome to Mr. Hani. We do not know each other personally, but I guess it will follow, is needed as the logistic support, the support from the European Union, from the national governments when it comes to put up some activities is needed, and yeah, that's one main challenge as well. And regarding to the event title, economic and investment plans for the region and what's in for the youngsters and what's needed for the youngsters, I just want to put out three things, like financial resources. They are needed with all the organizations doing a good job there, Erasmus program, also the Council of Europe. And then we need the trust. I think when it comes to participation and education, youngsters need trust, also being self-determined and having the freedom to develop, and not only a market-orientated investment in these education schemes. I think there also leisure is a very important point. Mental health are important points when it comes to young people. And a third one is also perspectives for the future. I think this regional cooperation regional cooperations are very important. Also, giving a future for EU membership, for example. I think it's important for young people working on this, very dedicated. And during this pandemic, it's never wrong to do big investments in youth, but especially now, it's more than ever needed and also demanded. And for now, I would set a point here, and I'm open for any questions. And also, yeah, if you have some comments, I'm very happy to join this meeting.
Thank you very much, Tobias. I'm sure we can all reflect on everything that you shared with us, because we see this and we face this in our daily work as well. Actually, also from the presentation from Kamil, I was able to, he mentioned let's say, two main areas that are also the main themes on which the Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform focuses, which is education and employment, two very important key aspects that also have an impact on the implementation of the youth guarantee. I believe that this opens the floor for discussion with all of you that we have today as panelists, because these are also topics that are tackled in the Western Balkans Youth Forum implemented by RICO, but also this is a very important to keep in mind as the countries, let's say in this case, Albania is preparing for planning and implementation of the youth guarantee, but also when we talk about the partnership between youth organizations and institutions. So maybe I would start now this discussion drawing on everything that you said. We can start by Miljana. You mentioned that now comes from 2020 is legally recognized as a youth organization by the law in Serbia. In all this discussion that we are having, and as we strive to have a strong and effective partnership between youth organizations and institutions, could you please tell us what do you think that is the key ingredient maybe that can help in further strengthening this partnership, youth organizations and institutions, which then can lead to having more effective policies, not only youth policies, but also sectoral policies that involve youth?
Thank you, Gresa. Actually, the possibility, the recognition of COMS as a national legally recognized youth council actually contributed and offered the possibility of COMS to participate in the youth council of the government of Republic of Serbia. So this mechanism, this advisory body of the government of Serbia, consisting of representatives of institutions and representatives of young people, actually is the mechanisms that was triggered by the legally recognition of COMS. So now from the 2020, we have the opportunity to delegate young people to be member of this youth council. And it's much easier to address these topics such as education, employment, health, because the representatives of these sectoral ministries are also present and participating within the youth council. We managed from the beginning to meet monthly, so that is also the dynamics is also very much important in this regard. And we as youth representatives within the youth council are trying to make it as a forum and also as a place where you can put important things on the agenda, where you can decide and debate on possibilities of solving the issues that we are facing as young people, and also the tool for evaluating and monitoring the success of the agreed topics and decisions. We had the Youth Council since 2014, so it had quite a time to establish and to be set as a mechanism, but unfortunately we didn't have this strong youth voice, which we now have when COMS was legally recognized as a youth council. So now we are having more power, I would say, because we are more represented and we have the resources and the resources that has COMS. So there is the network potential, the expertise that lies in member organizations. So now representatives can in the Youth Council can also use all the experience that other youth organizations are developing and having in their local communities, but also many of them are working at the national level as well. And it's a mechanism that it's still very new, I would say, because it fully functioned from the beginning of this year, but that has a lot of potential. The same mechanism we try to advocate also at the local level, so the same principle of co-management and when it comes to also the mandate and the variety of topics that should be tackled within these youth councils. So we believe that because we are now in the Republic of Serbia, we are amending the law on youth. We believe that this is also the space where we can where we can improve and somehow use the experience and lessons learned in order to develop further this crucial mechanism that also could in future tackle all the other topics and areas that are important of youth. So it's a mechanism rather than a quick solution, but it also builds on the participation culture, which I believe we still lack in the Western Balkans. And because of our formal education and because of less possibilities for informal education, since the resources are very limited. And that is also what we believe that should be improved along with these institutional reforms and institutional adjustments and improvements.
Thank you very much, Mirjana. Actually, here at the Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform and also throughout these past weeks with the implementation of the capacity building program with our partner organization, these have been some of the main topics that we discussed. I mean, it's true, advocacy is very important, especially when it comes for youth. However, the institutional support is crucial and very important in actually trying to translate these advocacy policies that we are doing into actual policies that have an impact when it comes to youth, which makes me turn again to our institutional representative, Bora. From everything that we were talking and also what Mirjana was sharing when it comes to institutional support for national youth organizations in general, and also in the framework of the youth guarantee that is actually one of the main flagships that we are trying to tackle and to analyze throughout our work. When it comes to Albania's preparation in planning and also then implementing the youth guarantee, in your opinion and your knowledge, of course, to what extent are youth organizations involved in this process when it comes to planning, when it comes to hearing the feedback from them? I mean, youth guarantee has been one of the flagship that has continuously been mentioned by youth because it provides employability opportunities, participation opportunities that we are mentioning. So how important do you see youth involvement in this process and what is happening in this aspect?
Youth Guarantee is actually one of the most important flagship projects that we're actually following. And this is something that, once again, as I mentioned, youth is always split into 3 different institutions in Albania, just to give you a little bit of a perspective. And what's happening now is that we're doing this initiative together with the Ministry of Finance and Economy, which manages the professional employment sector, and at the same time with the Ministry of Health and Social Protection, as well as the Ministry of Education, Sports and Youth, which is the youth part. We've actually been very, very actively working, and not longer than last week, we had a specific TAIEX where we discussed with all the members of the other countries that have implemented it, which was very useful actually, especially hearing the perspective of Macedonia, which has successfully implemented it, and seeing where their issues were and what their problems were. This is very important for us because we don't have to learn from our own mistakes. Sometimes it's more important to learn from the experience of those that have previously implemented it. However, we have discussed a few things that we need to focus on when it comes to the implementation of the youth guarantee. And the first and most important one is, once again, the good collaboration between institutions. This is crucial since this is a cross-cutting issue. It's not only employment, it's also education, it's also the youth organizations. So this is why we need to have a very good communication between the institutions in Albania and the youth organizations. I believe that youth organizations have been involved in this process. I do not think that they have been involved as much as they should have been involved. So I think perhaps this is something that we need to further work on, but we are at the right moment to include them more because we've only just started. So this is something that we're in the planning process now. So this is the good time to actually involve the youth organizations as well. And I would like to share something which is very encouraging to us, because before Kamil mentioned also the pre-accession funds, and this is something that we're also where we've applied for one of the funds that is in regards to youth, and we're intending to use part of it for the youth guarantee, and we want to actually do a pilot project. I mean, of course, it is involved in the youth guarantee flagship pilot, but we want to do a pilot before the pilot because we're very eager to start with it, and we're very eager to see how it would work in Albania. So we've actually targeted a little bit of our youth funds to see the youth guarantee being implemented, of course, with a very limited number of participants, because the funds, of course, cannot allow for a higher number. But this will be for us a very good experience to see what our issues are, to see where our problems might encounter, because Kamil mentioned earlier something which I think is very important, and it's the capacity building. Because of course we have the employment agencies in Albania, and they have been preparing for this, and they have been preparing to actually make it happen in practice. But this is something that sometimes it takes more time. It takes more getting used to it. So this is the reason why we want to use this youth fund, which is not specifically earmarked for the youth guarantee. We want to use part of it just to have a pilot and to see what our issues might be, so that in order, by the time that we have the official pilot, we have a little bit of a perspective and an understanding, both of the stakeholders, as well as where the issues might encounter, as well as we can see what the perspective of the youth organizations is in this regard. So I think this is something really important when it comes to the youth guarantee. And of course, I would also like to mention something else, that one thing that is very important, and again, I heard that it was mentioned by Miliana before, as well as the other colleagues, is the involvement of the youth councils. And this is something that we've also progressed a little bit in Albania, and I would like to share this with you, that not only has been implemented the National Youth Council, but we're also in the process of implementing the local youth councils. So we will have a local youth council for each municipality in Albania. So that's a total of 61. Of course, it's very ambitious, so it will take us a bit of time to accomplish all of them. But the main concept of this is to actually have capacity building for these local councils, for them to be able to give us their recommendations of policies that are useful for the youth in those specific areas. So to answer your question with one single word, definitely youth organizations will be involved in every single part of the process, because without them, I think it's very difficult to implement it and successfully achieve the main goal of the youth guarantee.
Thank you for sharing this with us. Actually, it's very hopeful and good news for us to hear everything that you mentioned. Firstly, when it comes to the monitoring and the pre-piloting that you mentioned, it was also one of the key elements identified from Kamil, from the EU, when it comes to how can we make youth guarantee be a successful project when it is implemented in the region. And also the other topics that you mentioned make me realize the immense space there is for regional or even beyond initiatives that are needed to support further youth organizations and youth entities that are in the region to work even better in addressing the challenges that are in their countries or even in their communities, which brings me, as we further approach maybe let's say the closure of our event, which brings me again to Rajko and to Mr. Valica, and also to what Tobias earlier mentioned. When it comes to Rajko, as you mentioned, the Western Balkans Youth Forum is taking place within the Berlin Summit, a great momentum and a very important stage for our region. The topics such as employment, participation, sustainability, everything that was mentioned, key points, let's say, or key words of our discussion are also the main themes of working groups of the forum. At the same time, this forum is gathering numerous youth stakeholders, youth entities, and agencies who are now working together throughout this youth forum. What are your expectations from this forum? And let's say, how do you see Rajko's role in providing an environment that gives opportunities for youth in our region?
Thank you for the question, Gresa. Indeed, I mean, Berlin process is finishing one cycle of its existence from Berlin to Berlin, and now we are in a period of designing the new era of exactly this Berlin process, which I guess will move along the explanation or definition of the term that you are already mentioned here in this session, and that's the term of institutionalization of the initiatives. This means that we are waiting from the governments to take more responsibility and not just for the sake of pleasing international or whomsoever, but for more even not for just creating strategies and papers that are important to be placed in one political system, but to really take concrete measures to solve the problems or issues that are related to youth. And this can be solved only if we are thinking in terms of institutionalization or integrating all those concerns inside those political systems that are existing in the region of Western Balkans. This is for me one of the main reasons of the Berlin process. This time, as you mentioned, with the topics in the workshops, five workshops, we have identified they are in fact key activities or initiatives that have already been undergoing this period from RICO and from other institutions. As I mentioned before, we are looking now forward to creating even more results into it. This time, for example, the Berlin process will also focus on, symbolically is actually showing how these processes need immediately to be tackled seriously by the locals. In this sense, I want to emphasize that this is the first, for example, youth forum as a side event of the Berlin process, where the local organizations like even RICO and even OFAJ now are taking responsibility to organize it all together. We even designed the logo for the Berlin process in a very competitive way, where the youth from all the region were applying and giving solutions, and youth representatives that are in our board elected or selected a couple, I mean, of solutions, which then later the German government selected one. So luckily, one is now even from the person is from Albania, the logo that we are using in the Berlin process. This shows how important is to localize also those types of initiatives by giving the ownership to the target group. This was created in a way as a platform for sincere dialogue among politicians, but at the same time, it was also seen as a great opportunity for youth. Youth were successful to integrate their interests and their concerns over there, but then it appeared that they, in a way, paved the road to greater cooperation among the politicians, because youth don't have those barriers from the past. They can cooperate and communicate much free than the politicians. But then they encourage also the ones that are responsible for our societies to follow even the good example that the youth are doing. So this time in Berlin process, we are really trying to be more concrete. We are looking into those key initiatives now more closer, and the recommendations that are going to be presented or priorities that are going to be presented to the governments in the final Berlin summits are going to be, of course, more concrete, as youth is also requesting for that. The process is, of course, not easy, as I mentioned to you before, because we are literally in need for, as much as it is possible, input from the youth in this regards. But for more, we are more in need for the dedication or commitment from the government stakeholders to walk the talk, not just to put initiatives or ideas on paper. To walk the talk to me means also to even themselves invest even more time, energy, as well as money into this plans or into realization of the dreams of the youth. I mean, there are many things to be said that are connected to Berlin process, but I guess I did one short summary of this at the moment. What is happening? We are having a great expectations, but of course, without your contribution, we will be lost.
Definitely, where there is will, of course, there will also be results. I would turn to Mr. Valitsa for a very short and concise question, let's say. It was mentioned also before the employment. Can you please tell us shortly what is in for youth from the EU Western Balkans ministerial that is going to take place on employment? I mean, what can youth benefit from it, and what can we expect from this event that will take place shortly?
Gresa, thank you very much for this question. So next week, on the 8th of July, there will be a second EU Western Balkans ministerial meeting on employment and social affairs. It is happening physically in Ljubljana. It is one of the first big physical meetings that are happening after we have been through the lockdowns, etc. So we are very happy that this is happening physically. And ministers of the Western Balkans and the European Union, so we are awaiting up to 33 ministers during that meeting, together with the European Commissioner for Jobs and Social Rights, will discuss the topic of youth employment at that ministerial. And they will be discussing the challenges that young people face in entering the labor market, priority measures that can be taken to actually promote their employment and activity. And very importantly, the ministers will also discuss Youth Guarantee, the experience with its establishment, and the steps that are needed for its establishment or enhancement. Because of course, countries are at different phases. Some have already implemented it, and some are still preparing for that. So we very much hope that this ministerial meeting will lead to a commitment to act for young people. And we need to wait for the day of the ministerial meeting to see what will be the materialization of this commitment. But let me share one important thing. Together with this ministerial meeting, we are organizing an EU Western Balkans stakeholder conference on employment and social issues. It is a virtual event that is going to happen the day after the ministerial meeting on the 9th of July. And during that event, we will have a debrief hopefully from the ministers themselves to the stakeholders that will involve social partners, youth organizations, NGOs, and academia experts. So there will be a debriefing of the results of the ministerial, and then there will be a session on Youth Guarantee that will be chaired by Mrs. Andrea Michanovic, one of the representatives of young people in the governing board of RICO. And we will also have on the panel a representative of the Kosovar Youth Council who will address the public. We have made sure that we send the invitation to this virtual event actually yesterday, and they were sent to the national RICO offices, and we made sure also to send the invitation to the Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform. So we very much hope that youth organizations will be represented and that questions will be asked. And this is to actually elaborate on what Bora has been saying. We are now stepping further in the progress, and we are involving NGOs and youth organizations in the progress, and we are very much looking forward to your participation.
Thank you, Camille. I truly hope that also the takeaways that you will have from this event will be reflected and addressed in the ministerial as well. And lastly, from Tobias, youth dialogue, a very often mentioned topic, not only during the discussion, but also during the workshops and the work that we had these past weeks with our partners in the region. I want to hear from you. Do you think that such platforms as Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform and the involvement of youth organizations to monitor such sectoral policies as the Economic and Investment Plan and also the Youth Guarantee are contributing in preparing youth organizations in our region to implement youth dialogue in their countries?
Yes, of course. I think especially the last days showed the need of the cooperation within the platform and the need for a platform, and also for actors, NGOs like CDI to support this cooperation with workshops, with a strategy to show up and to work on different topics. I guess, or not, I guess, I know that in the intense discussions you worked out a lot beside the education, employment, also digitalization, the green agenda, for example, talking about EU integration, which I mentioned before, very important topics for the youngsters in the region. And therefore, for this youth dialogue then with the politicians, the cooperation is a big help for the youth councils in the region, but also for all youngsters. And I will not, I don't want to miss it. And because this, as we do it in Germany, also putting pressure on politics, on the stakeholders, act as a lobby for youngsters. That's also needed in the region. And finally, I would say the good cooperation in the region, driven by young ideas, is the key of success for the whole region. So you only can win with this cooperation.
Thank you very much, Tobias. Indeed, another affirmation, let's say, or confirmation that youth dialogue truly has an impact in everything that is done by youth in the region. I think that we are closing now. We are coming to an end, and I believe that we all had the chance to get way more insights and to hear more from the work that each of us are doing. I would like to read some of the key takeaways or messages that I got while all of you were speaking, that stayed with me and that had an impact also in the aim of this event, but also in how we see moving forward when it comes to our contribution in monitoring the economic and investment plan. It was said that such regional initiatives, such as Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform, but even more, even beyond them, include a number of youth organizations and stakeholders, and at the same time, they impact the cooperation and help to know more the challenges that our region is facing. There is a definite need for an intersectoral institutional cooperation when it comes to involving youth and addressing youth challenges and needs, in not only in the region, but also when it comes down to national and local policies. There is a need that policies and intersectoral policies to be under the loop of youth and youth organizations. And also there is foremost important, there is a need for political prioritization for youth guarantee and also for politics to be trusted by youngsters, which brings me to the result, let's say, of this event, and to not a statement, but maybe a message that Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform partners have created when it comes to their contribution and their engagement in monitoring the economic and investment plan, also focusing in the youth guarantee flagship, but also in the economic and investment plan as a whole. Through this partnership, 6 umbrella organizations will actively engage, inform, promote, and outreach the economic and investment plan for the Western Balkans. Throughout this process, partners will strive to bring Balkan youth interests at the very heart of policymaking during planning, implementation, and operation of these investments. Western Balkans Youth Cooperation Platform and its partners will engage in bringing economic and investment plan closer to the Balkans youth and citizens in general, both by explaining it, but also by representing the youngsters' interest into its main themes and flagship projects. And with this, if there are no more questions or final remarks from our panelists, I would like to thank you all for your participation, for your active contribution, and hopefully we will be able to all meet physically soon. Thank you.
See you. Bye-bye. Greetings to Tirana.
Bye.
Thank you. Greetings from Brussels to Tirana. Goodbye.